Hydra's Super Serum, Erskine's early prototype. German scientist Dr. Abraham Erskine, working under Nazi pressure and for Hydra, developed an early prototype of what would become the Super-Soldier Serum. It was crude, unstable, and untested, but Hydra didn't care. Enter Johann Schmidt, the head of Hydra's science division. Obsessed with power and dominance, Schmidt forcibly injected himself with Erskine's imperfect serum. The transformation gave him immense strength and endurance, but at a terrifying cost. His face became grotesquely disfigured, and his humanity all but vanished as he became the Red Skull. The serum didn't just amplify his body, it magnified his worst traits: arrogance, cruelty, and a lack of humanity. And while he eventually vanished into space via the Tesseract decades later, he reappeared on Vormir, looking exactly the same, hinting at a twisted kind of immortality. However, that was likely the doing of the Soul Stone, not the serum itself. This serum was a warning that raw power without control breeds monsters. The original Super Serum Captain America. After defecting to the United States, Erskine was determined to do things the right way. He partnered with Howard Stark and the US military under Project Rebirth, refining the serum with a stabilizing energy source called Vita Rays. But they needed a test subject, not just someone physically capable, but morally aligned. That's when Steve Rogers stepped up, a frail, asthmatic young man who never backed down from a fight if it was the right thing to do. The transformation was astonishing. Rogers' muscles grew, his metabolism accelerated, and all his illnesses vanished. But Erskine made one thing clear: the serum amplifies what's already inside. That's why Steve succeeded, and Schmidt became a monster. Unfortunately, Erskine was assassinated right after the experiment, taking the exact formula to his grave. The US was left with a living weapon and no way to reproduce it. Hydra's Copycat Serum. Hydra wasn't done. During World War II, they continued their own experiments using Allied prisoners as test subjects, attempting to reverse engineer Erskine's serum. Most subjects died, except one, which turned out to be Bucky Barnes, Cap's best friend, who was captured by Hydra when he and Cap were ambushed intercepting a Hydra train, and Bucky falls into a valley in the Alps. Hydra rescues Bucky and secretly injects him with Hydra's new variant. It gives him enhanced strength, slowed aging, and heightened reflexes. But that wasn't all. Hydra took it further, giving Bucky a cybernetic arm, wiping his memories, and programming him into the perfect assassin, the Winter Soldier. This wasn't about making heroes anymore. This was about making tools of destruction, and Bucky became their deadliest one. The US government's Super Serum. After the war and Steve's disappearance, the US government wasn't willing to let go of the super soldier dream. But instead of starting fresh, they turned to unethical human experimentation. Black soldiers were unknowingly injected with unstable versions of the serum, under the false pretense of a tetanus shot. Many suffered horrific side effects, deformities, psychosis, and even death. Only one man survived, Isaiah Bradley. Not only did he survive, he thrived. His strength rivaled Captain America's, and he even went toe-to-toe with the Winter Soldier at one point. But instead of celebrating him, the government buried his story. They imprisoned him for 30 years, silenced him, trying to erase him from history. His story, only revealed decades later, is one of the most heartbreaking consequences of the serum's legacy. Howard Stark's hidden sample. Howard Stark never gave up on recreating the serum. As one of the original minds behind Project Rebirth, he managed to preserve a sample of Steve Rogers' blood, perhaps the last surviving trace of the perfect formula. After years of research, Stark got close, but before he could finalize anything, Hydra, still operating in secret, had him assassinated. They stole his work and used it to create a new breed of Winter Soldiers in a joint Hydra-Soviet program. These enhanced operatives were kept in cryo-freeze, activated only for kill missions. One of them was even shown to overpower Bucky, a clear escalation in serum strength. The Hulk Serum, Project Gamma Pulse. Fast forward to the early 2000s. After September 11th, the US government launched Project Gamma Pulse, a modern attempt to recreate the Super-Soldier Serum, this time using gamma radiation instead of Vita Rays. Leading the experiment was Dr. Bruce Banner, hoping to harness gamma energy to enhance soldiers. But the result was far beyond anyone's expectations. Instead of a soldier, Bruce became the Hulk, an uncontrollable force with near-infinite strength triggered by anger and emotional instability. Banner's transformation was not just physical, it fractured his identity, leading to years of internal conflict between man and monster. The Abomination Serum. Next came Emil Blonsky, a decorated soldier who volunteered for a new version of the serum under the Biotech Force Enhancement Project. Administered through painful deep tissue injections, Blonsky initially displayed incredible agility and strength, even healing from injuries that should have been fatal. But he wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. When his enhanced blood was mixed with Bruce Banner's, the result was catastrophic. Blonsky transformed into the Abomination, a grotesque monster with enhanced regenerative powers, raw brutality, and no trace of his original humanity. A perfect example of what happens when ambition outpaces understanding. Soviet Super-Soldier Serum Red Guardian. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union launched its own super-soldier program. Their most famous success? Alexei Shostakov, also known as the Red Guardian. It's unclear exactly how the Soviets developed their serum, but given their collaboration with Hydra and access to Winter Soldier tech, it's likely they built it from scraps of Bucky's biology or stolen Hydra research. Shostakov was deployed as the USSR's answer to Captain America, a powerful, arrogant, washed-up warrior whose best days were likely fabricated by propaganda. But the serum worked. He didn't age normally and retained considerable strength well into his later years. Centipede Serum, Deathlock. This was Hydra's most experimental version yet. Instead of refining the serum, they went full Frankenstein, combining elements of gamma radiation, the extremis virus, Kree blood, and more. The result was the Centipede Serum, delivered via a mechanical device attached to the subject's arm. Subjects gained immense strength, rapid healing, and sometimes power amplification. It was used to create enhanced agents, like Deathlock, who were nearly unstoppable. But it was unstable, volatile, and extremely difficult to control. Nagel's modern masterpiece. Finally, the most efficient version of the serum ever made. Dr. Wilfred Nagel, working under multiple shady organizations, used Isaiah Bradley's stored blood to create a small, clean, and powerful version of the serum. No transformation sequence, no radiation, just one injection, and permanent super strength. It was stolen and used by the Flag Smashers and by John Walker, the government's replacement for Captain America. Nagel's formula might be the most dangerous yet, because it gives all the power, with none of the visual warning signs. Anyone could have it. You wouldn't even know. Every version of the serum came with a cost. Some created heroes like Captain America, others built weapons, monsters, and ghosts of the people they once were. Which version do you think was the most powerful or the most terrifying? Let me know in the comments.